Welcome to the Grassroots Weekend Preview. I'm your host, Beth. Coming up this week, it's finals time for ice hockey in Australia. Let's have a look at the last week of the AIHL regular season and preview which teams will be playing to lift the Goodall Cup. The defending Goodall Cup champions hosted the Sydney Ice Dogs in the last game of the season. The North Stars took a 1-goal lead in the first period and scored another in the second to take a 2-goal lead over their Sydney rivals. The Ice Dogs soon showed there was bite along with their bark, and before the end of the second period, the game was tied up at 2 goals apiece. Despite one of the best performances in the second half of Newcastle's season, they were unable to find the net in the third period. The same couldn't be said for the Ice Dogs, who scored what would be the game-winning goal halfway through the final period, relegating the North Stars to 7th place on the AIHL ladder with a 3-2 win. The Melbourne Mustangs hit Sydney for their last games of the regular season. Saturday night saw them face off against the Bears at Macquarie, and less than a minute into the game, the visitors got on the board. The Bears weren't ready for hibernation just yet, however, and rallied to score 2 goals in 10 seconds and took a 2-1 lead. The Bears added another for good measure and held a 2-goal lead going into the first intermission. The home side then extended their lead, making the score 4-1 at the midpoint of the second period. The Mustangs soon replied and cut the Bears' lead back down to 2 before the second break. The third period exploded with goals, the home side scoring another 2 and the visitors scoring 3. This wouldn't be enough to get the Mustangs the win, with the Bears taking the 6-5 win. Sunday saw the Mustangs square up against the Ice Dogs, who were coming off their Saturday night win over the Newcastle North Stars. Period 1 was an even match, with neither team finding the net. The Ice Dogs corrected this at the second period, scoring 3 unanswered goals. The Mustangs replied at the start of the final period, but the Ice Dogs clawed it back less than a minute later. The visitors had the last impact on the scoreboard for the night, but again fell short, and the Ice Dogs won their final game of the season with the final score of 4-2. The CBR Brave made an early trip to Melbourne to scope out the facilities for the AIHL Finals and play a doubleheader against the Melbourne Ice while they were there. Sunday had the Melbourne Ice opening the scoring, taking a 2-0 lead into the first intermission. This was extended to a 3-0 lead for the second break, leaving many wondering how the CBR would fare in the finals the following weekend. Melbourne Ice found the net 2 more times in the first half of the final period before the Brave broke the shutout and scored 2 of their own, but were ultimately dealt a 5-2 loss. Sunday's game started off looking very similar to Saturday's game. Melbourne Ice scored twice in the opening period, but CBR didn't wait until the final frame to answer back, cutting Melbourne's lead in half before the first intermission. Things looked more evenly matched in the second, with both teams kept scoreless. CBR levelled the score at 2 early in the final period, however the home side didn't let up and replied with 3 unanswered goals to take the win, with the same 5-2 scoreline as the night before. There were 54 goals scored in the previous week of the AIHL. Perth Thunder scored almost half that number in their games against the Adelaide Adrenaline this weekend. The home side scored the only goal in the first period and the only 4 in the second. They proceeded to open the third period with their 6th, 7th and 8th before the Adrenaline finally got on the board, twice. Perth scored number 9 in the Adrenaline number 3 before the Thunder reached double digits with another 2, finishing up their 11-3 routing of their guests. Sunday was a similar affair. Perth scored twice in the first period and 4 in the second before the Adrenaline netted their first and only goal of the night. Perth sprinted home with another 6 goals throughout the remainder of the game, taking the 12-1 victory. Adelaide Adrenaline apologised to their fans for the blowout losses and called out players that didn't commit to making the road trip in one of the most raw and honest posts we've seen from a team's social media account this season. As a side note, there were a total of 63 goals scored across the weekend. At the end of the regular season, Melbourne Ice take out first place with 71 points. Perth Thunder land in second with 57 points. CBR Braves see out the season in third with 46 points, and the Mustangs remain in fourth with 40 points. The bottom half of the ladder was finalised with last weekend's results. The Ice Dogs fell just short of the top 4, finishing with 36 points. Their rink mates, the Bears, ended up in 6th place with 33 points. The North Stars finish in their lowest table position in history, taking 7th place with 30 points, and the Adrenaline round out the league with 23 points. This weekend is the big one. Saturday will see the 2 semi-finals. Losers go home and the winners play to take home the Goodall Cup. Playing at 3 p.m, Melbourne Ice will face the Melbourne Mustangs in the 5th derby of the season, and the one that has the most to play for. At 6 p.m, Perth Thunder will face CBR Brave. Neither of these 2 teams have lifted the Goodall Cup, with Perth looking to make their first appearance ever in the grand final, while CBR have been looking to go one better over their grand final defeat last year. On Sunday at 3 p.m, the winners of the semi-final will battle it out for at least 50 minutes to determine the 2017 AIHL champion. Grassroots will be on the ground to cover the weekend's action, so feel free to say hi if you spot us. Over 33,000 people watched the Stanford University Cardinals take on the Rice University Rice Owls at Allianz Stadium in Sydney last Sunday. The Cardinals had a spectacular game with 7 touchdowns and 2 field goals before the Rice Owls got on the board with a TD of their own. The Cardinals found time in the dying minutes of the game to run another touchdown, taking the win in a final score of 62-7. Sadly, the Rice Owls are as yet unable to return home, with Hurricane Harvey lashing their campus in Houston, Texas. The team is currently riding out the storm at Texas Christian University, while the Cardinals have returned home to Stanford, California. The Gridiron New South Wales competition gets underway this Saturday. In the men's division, the Sutherland Seahawks take on the UTS Gators at Robert Zeems Park, kicking off at 4 p.m. Following that game, Wollongong Mustangs play the Northern Sydney Rebels at 7 p.m. At Slade Park, Newcastle will debut their Kings uniform against the Sydney Uni Lions at 1 p.m, followed by the Central Coast Sharks clash with the Nepean Ducks at 4 p.m. At the third venue of the day, David Phillips Memorial Fields will see the University of New South Wales Raiders square up against the Northwestern Predators. In the women's division, the UTS Gators will play the Northern Sydney Rebels at Robert Zeems Park, starting at midday. At David Phillips Memorial Park, the University of New South Wales Raiders will line up against the Northwestern Phoenix at 11 a.m. In the Colts division, the Sutherland Seahawks will play against UTS Gators at Robert Zeems Park, starting at 10 a.m, followed by a clash between Wollongong Mustangs and the Northern Sydney Rebels at 2 p.m. Slade Park will see Central West Giants take on the Sydney Uni Cubs at 11 a.m, while at David Phillips Memorial Park, the University of New South Wales Raiders will take on the Northwestern Panthers at 1 p.m. The United Roller Derby playoffs were held in Melbourne last weekend. United Tasmania Roller Derby took out the top honours in Division 1, with Kingston City Rollers coming in second. Toowoomba City Rollers claimed the Division 2 championship, and Perth Men's Derby claimed runners-up. And that's it for this week's Weekend Preview. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Grassroots_AU on Twitter, Grassroots_sports on Instagram, and Grassroots Sports on Facebook. Keep up to date on what's happening in emerging sport via our website, grassroots-sports.com.au. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Friday for another Grassroots Weekend Preview.